welcome back to the Comic Cinema Crew on this fine Sunday morning. And we are here to discuss Marvel Disney Plus's newest show, Secret Invasion. And I'm here with two of my favorite people to discuss, all a part of the Comic Cinema Crew. Let's start with my homie, the creator himself, the guy who puts it all together, Mr. Josh Warren. What's up, Josh?
Yo, what up, everybody?
It's your boy.
And of course, I'll be remiss not to introduce the girl who has lots of opinions, lots of views, which we love to hear, stuff like that, but always gives us a lot of joy. What's up, Claudius?
What's up? So excited to talk about this today, and thanks for having us, Mike.
Oh, always. It's always a pleasure, stuff like that. I can't do it without you, sometimes. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. Like, this is a highly anticipated show. And also, they haven't had a show. It's weird. It didn't feel that way, but they haven't had a show on Disney Plus, MCU anyway, since She-Hulk and stuff like that. So
That's right. Wow.
yeah. So that kind of left a bad little, for me, taste in my mouth. I didn't really like She-Hulk that much, so I was excited to get kind of a palate cleanse and start new a little bit. So Secret Invasion. Let's talk about anticipation a little bit, Josh. How much did you and why did you anticipate watching the show here?
I appreciate the espionage. Of course, I'm a huge Bond fan, and I know with the scrolls specifically, it has more stakes because they literally can be anyone, right? So you're gonna have things like, because of their shape shifting ability, you can easily have double agents, triple agents, quadruple agents, and you never really know with the scroll because they're great at, they can take people's memories, and that's really all you need to impersonate someone. Really, you look like them, take their memories, you have their voice. That's really all you need. However, I will argue there is still a little element that I feel like if people are paying attention, they can tell if someone's a scroll simply because they're a little bit more charismatic than human beings are. There's that bit of arrogance, like, yeah, we're scrolls, you're just little humans who don't know anything. So, but I was still very, very excited for this. And I'd love to see Samuel L. Jackson back as well, with being Nick Fury, and of course he's the spy master in the MCU. So I think this is right in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, I had no idea they could like take their memories, as you alluded to as well, or the way they did it, stuff like that. So I thought that was because if you watched Captain Marvel with the scrolls, they kind of shapeshifted, and I guess they already had them, but I didn't realize they were like taking them as well, so that was kind of different to me a little bit. I thought it was facing, but that makes it even more of a kind of hard to get through with them, like you said before. But Chloe, yourself, how about you? How did you anticipate the show, and why did you anticipate watching it so much? Or did you at all?
I'm gonna say I hate waiting for stuff, so I kind of put it out my memory. I'm not the person to be like, "Oh, it's coming soon," unless it's like Loki, right? Unless I'm already in love with the show. So, and then
Season 2
also
coming soon, Loki.
yeah, coming soon, Loki. Like I'm ready for that. But like this one, I was just like, we'll see what happens. Like, excuse me. I just love Marvel stuff, so it was cool. Like I was like, oh, all right, it's coming. I was like, oh, it's here. We get to watch something while we're eating dinner now. Like, that's what we do. So I'm like, oh, we got a new show to watch. But yeah, I'll get into more detail about that once we start.
Okay, not a problem. So, yeah, for me, it just looked like it was going to be. I'm with Josh. I love the espionage stuff, so I like the fact that. First of all, let me go back. Captain America Winter Soldier is still my favorite MCU movie, like to this day. So this gave me those vibes, seeing the trailer and stuff like that, and of course having Sam Jackson in there, who was in Winter Soldier, and I know he can do good like spy type of work and stuff like that. So, and of course the cast, like Ben Mendelsohn is also dope, and of course the Queen of Dragons,
Daenerys.
yeah.
I was shocked to see her.
Were you? Okay.
Well,
yeah.
I don't watch trailers. I hate watching trailers because I could figure out the show. So, like, even now with this first episode, I was like, I already know what's gonna happen. So, but I was shocked to see her. I was like, okay, Daenerys in here.
Yeah. So that's what kind of got me. So let's talk about the show itself. So, kind of, we see a familiar face. At least we thought with Agent Ross, who we saw him in both Black Panther movies, as well as a Civil War stuff like that. He's meeting this guy in true spy form, going through a dark alley, meeting this guy
in Moscow, out of all places.
In Moscow, meeting this guy in some off place that nobody knows about, stuff like that. And the guy has also having conspiracy theories about the Skrulls and how long they've been here and what's going on. And at this point, we think it's Ross, obviously. Then again, it's Tussle and the Ross that we think kills the guy, and then he gets chased by some random person who we think is random, and then falls off the building, and that guy dies, but it's not Ross, it's a Skrull. And then the guy who was chasing him was not excuse me, some random guy. It was what's his name in the show? Ben Mendelsohn's character. I don't know what I can think of right now. Anyway, it was him.
Telos.
Talos, yeah, it was Talos. Yeah, it was Talos. Okay, and we see Maria Hill pulling up as well. So, Josh, and then this all came for the opening credits actually. So, Josh, that scene before the opening credits, how'd you feel about that?
I thought it was fantastic opening to a spy thriller. I thought that was great. It did give me Winter Soldier vibes. That was cool as well. And it was also great to see another familiar face with Beric Dondarrion, the actor who plays in, Game of Thrones. So that was cool. You hear his voice. Exactly. You hear his voice right away. So that was cool. And the crazy part is, we'll find this out later, but of course it comes off him being, he lost his marbles there, but he's probably more accurate than he knows at that point. And for whatever reason, based upon his appearances in the MCU and what happened at the end of Wakanda Forever, for me personally, in that scene, I knew that wasn't Agent Ross, personally.
Really?
Only because we've never seen him do anything like that type of mission before. Okay. And it feels like he's really, especially how the U.S. government works, especially with the CIA, if he has such great ties to Wakanda, he's really the only outsider that the Wakandans will allow into Wakanda. It seems like they wouldn't have him, off in Russia somewhere, personally. But that's just me.
Okay. So how long, before I get to you, Chloe, so for you, how long do you think it goes back that the Skrull was being Ross and stuff like that? Or you got any idea where Ross might be right now?
So I'll get into this later. I still think that because Ross got what's it called? He got first he got arrested in Wakanda Forever by his wife, but then the Wakandans broke him out.
Right.
So that's why I was like, it can't be him. So, but I think when he was captured by his wife, I think that she may be a Skrull, and I think that's when they copied him. And then you have this character, whoever that guy was, whoever that Skrull was, being Agent Ross.
Gotcha. Okay, interesting. Chloe, how you feel about that first scene in the show?
Honestly, I thought it was a lot of words. Like, it was just a lot of talking. It felt like a history class. I couldn't pay attention all the way. Like, I knew the gist of what was happening, but it was like, I don't know. It just was, you have to be very, very attentive when you watch this show, right?
Right.
And so maybe I wasn't in a space to be attentive. I was following along. I was hearing and seeing what was going on. I also was like, I know the premise of the show is like Skrulls are shapeshifters. So I did not believe that was Agent Ross at all. I'm like Josh said, I'm like, he not that action packed. Like, he does stuff, but not like this stuff. So, and then, with the conspiracy, like, this is what I mean about like me being able to figure out what happens. Like, I want them to surprise me, but so far I haven't been surprised. Well, only one surprise. We'll get to that. But like, I'm looking forward to the surprises. So in the opening scene, I'm like, oh, that ain't Agent Ross, because this conspiracy theory guy seems like he knows too much to be a Skrull and to be, snitching on himself. So I was like, well, a Skrull is in this scene, so it gotta be Agent Ross. And then when he hopped, did he get up after he hopped off the building?
No, he never got up after that.
Never got up? Okay.
Hell no, he was done.
Okay, yeah, and then he just turned into the Skrull. So okay, I knew that. But then I also, it's hard for me to remember characters, if that makes sense. Like, I don't remember Talos.
Talos was in
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Okay, I have to like rewatch stuff. So I think like just like me, people are like confused about things. Like, who's this person? Why are they important? Like, I honestly, and this may sound like, not nerdy of me, but I didn't even remember Agent Ross when I watched Wakanda Forever. Like,
from the first movie.
No, the second one.
I know you didn't remember.
Yeah, I didn't remember him. He
That's
wasn't
hilarious.
a person that I remember. So when he showed up in the second movie, I'm just like, oh, okay. So I don't know. Maybe people will be lost like I was about the relevance of each character. So maybe seeing Ross die wasn't hitting home for people because they just didn't know who he was. They're like, whatever. It's just some random scroll dude.
I don't know. It might hit him now because Wakanda Forever just came out. They saw him there like in
okay. I think that's smart. Yeah, that's true. Because I knew who he was because of Wakanda Forever. But if you ain't see Wakanda Forever, you're gonna be like, who the heck is, like, you're gonna be like, I don't care about these people. Like, I'm not invested. So
yeah, they probably should. Well, this is what we talked about before about when, just like, sometimes with MCU, you gotta do some homework first before you watch the next project. So if you watch Captain Marvel, this will go right into kind of this a little bit because you see the whole Nick Fury and Talos, and also you see their relationship, which we'll get into in a second, and how that kind of started in Captain Marvel as well. So, and then when the guys talking a couple times in the show, when they say, Nick has had a relationship for 30 years with these Skrulls and stuff, that goes back to Captain Marvel also, which took place in the 90s. So it's kind of like, goes hand to hand. And I'm pretty sure like Secret Invasion at this point in the MCU timeline, it's like 2025 or 26 or something like that. So that's why it's like, the full 30 years, which I hate that we're like off on their timeline. It's kind of weird. But for me, yeah, opening scene was good. Like you said, I did like seeing Barrick Dondarrion, obviously. You have the patch and thing and whatnot. And I knew it at the point when the guy was talking to the fake Ross. And when he was like telling him, look what I got, and the fake Ross kind of made it look like I already kind of know, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, yeah, it's definitely not, the real dude. But also, Maria Hill, she's always been like this around and stuff like that. So to see her, and we'll get into her a little later on and stuff like that, I was like, okay, this is cool. So anyway,
I didn't remember her either.
Maria's been in like 10 movies. Are you serious?
Colby Schmolders also got popular from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah. She was in at least 8 to 10 movies, Chloe. That's crazy.
It wasn't memorable. I don't know. I just don't remember.
And I think she was literally in the first scene of the first Avengers.
Yeah, she's Avenger.
What did she do? What was her role?
She worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. Same thing as
she's second in command after Fury. So when Fury's away, she's in command.
Okay, then that makes sense. But then probably when I was watching the movies, I was like, well, whatever. This must not be important to the movie.
She was was it Far From Home with Fury, Spider-Man? She's a bunch of like that.
Well, actually, it wasn't her. Well, that was No Way. Sorry, No Way. Sorry, you're right. It was No Way Home. That wasn't her. It was Telos and his wife.
Yeah, Telos and his wife. Yeah, who's apparently dead. Let's get into that. So
I feel like that lady. What's her name? Oh, she like, who's this man? If I seen this man, I've never seen this man in my life. Who is this man?
Kiki.
Who is this man? Never seen him a day in my life. Never seen her before.
I'm sorry to this man.
Sorry to this man. Sorry to this woman, because I don't know who she is.
So Nick Fury, the title character, not title character, but the main character, he comes from the Saber ship, which he is on, which we've now seen him on several films as well. End of Spider-Man, like you said before. We're going to see him on this same ship in the Marvels coming up pretty soon. So I don't know how the timeline works with that as well. We'll see him on there. And but yeah, Nick is coming down, and he looks a little disheveled, a little older now. A little long in the tooth, let's say. And he comes down and walks around Moscow, and then he kind of meets up with Talos and Maria Hill. They have that kind of reunion, and again, like hosts, a lot of talking, but kind of like a lot of exposition, I guess, and let him know what's going on. And then we get to learn, like Josh told me earlier, the bad of the series, Gravik, and he has these plans, basically, to start wars amongst each other and each country, so we can get rid of each other, and the Skrulls can take over the planet. It's basically like his plan. So I'm gonna stop there, Josh. How you feel about Nick Fury coming back, his introduction back into the series, and that whole meeting exposition?
Yeah, I thought it was great because as Chloe alluded to, we haven't seen him in a while. let's say in a major lead capacity as he was throughout the entire Infinity Saga, if you will. So it was great to see a prominent character come back, because we have lost a lot of prominent characters, and he was always on the outskirts. He was always off world, right? So always in the background doing Nick Fury things. But I love the attention to detail, because he's been in outer space on that ship where it has synthetic gravity. So as soon as he gets back to Earth, those bones ache a little bit more. So he had that gangster lip on him. So I thought that was a great detail to add, But to be honest, this entire time it reminded me a lot, and they allude to it too, like him being a little bit old, long in the tooth, just being out of it. It reminds me of Agent Coulson in the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because, spoiler alert for those who didn't see it, he died in the Avengers with being stabbed by the Loki. Spirit, by Loki. But then they were able to revive him with Skrull, technology, alien technology, and he was never the same after that. Similar to Nick Fury not really being the same after the blip. So I thought that was very interesting to see him in that capacity. This someone so confident and competent and spycraft, always being 3 steps ahead. You could tell he's not the same Nick Fury. He definitely has lost a couple steps.
Before I go to Chloe, how you felt about hearing, I guess, at that point, Gravik's, I guess, plan to turn the countries against each other in a way, like I guess plant bombs or start bombs, blame it on the other country. How you felt about the plan and how it would work and stuff like that. So, Josh, I'm asking you. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. So I thought it was totally unwarranted, and we can get into it later. It just to me, it didn't make sense. Like why? Because as far as we know from Captain Marvel, we literally saved your entire species' life, and now you trying to bite the hand that feeds you. That doesn't sit well with me. So we'll get into that later. Okay, but just hearing that, I was just like, wait, what?
Okay, Chloe, how you felt about seeing Fury back and meeting up with Talos and Maria and that part of it all?
Well, my prediction is it's not really Fury. Number one, I'm just going to name that. Okay. I'm naming it. And I don't think that's him. I think it's a Skrull that has his memories.
Okay.
I think Fury doing something else, possibly, or maybe he's deceased. I don't know. I don't think that's not him. It's not screaming Fury to me. It's screaming a person who maybe Fury made like friends with the Skrull up there or something, and then he died, and then the Skrull felt an immense duty to take over his life. And I don't know. That's the plot twist I feel coming. I could be wrong. It would be nice if it is him, but I don't think it's him. Especially in that one scene when he greeted Talos and they put their heads together.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, wait a second, they about to kiss, and then I was like, this is interesting. I couldn't see Fury doing that. He wouldn't do that. I don't think he's the type that would do that.
Yeah, and that is a Skrull greeting. They did it, and they did it in other show too. With the Captain Marvel. So yeah,
that ain't no Fury. I'm like, he ain't that different. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I just don't think it's him. I think it's the Skrull's memory. So that was the one thing I was thinking. But I did think it was kind of cool to show that his humanity, basically, like, even though he's a human, he's always been like this greater than, and this bigger than big type of person. And then it's showing I guess it's supposed to show his journey through trauma and how he's changed, but he's really hasn't changed. Like, if you think about it, he ain't changed. People just counting him out because he physically looks different. But I think he's the same. If that is him, I think that he's just, he's being coy. He's been going for a while. Like, he's just trying to adjust back to life here. And I think he got something up his sleeve.
Well, part of I guess what they tried to show, besides the limp Josh talking about, was him for the first time not wearing the eye patch. Mm-hmm. And that can go to your point, but it's really not Fury. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or like you said, maybe that he's just, it's a little different, but got something up his sleeve. You never know. Because it's weird, like, you wore this patch for 30 years. Now you're like, fuck it. You're going to see these eyes. Whatever, like
I'm old now. I don't need a patch. Like, I don't know. It just seemed a little sketchy to me. It's screaming scare. Scammers. Extremist scam now.
I think Chloe has a great point because that's a great way for him to be a double agent without being a double agent. Like Chloe said, he could easily have a accomplice scroll because he did save the scrolls up on the ship, and then they come down. You be me, you take my memories, and he doesn't have to be in stasis either, right? He can still be pulling the strings from Saber. Yeah. But I thought it was great that both New Rockstar, so shout out to Eric Voss, and Charlie at Emergency Awesome pointed out that the false Ross and Nick Fury both had the same Scully and jacket. Yeah. So it could be alluding to that's what scrolls wear on Earth. I don't know.
That's funny. You're right. That's good.
The scroll and the Scully.
Right, scroll and Scully. Yeah. That same Scully Catwoman had on the Batman. Like that. So, for her costume, her disguise for that. So,
like, okay.
So we see him say, "I'm gonna take a walk," obviously, and then he gets the whole bag over the head treatment put in the van, and he take him to this lady house we don't know at the time, and apparently like they're old friends and stuff like that, and she said this line. He was like, "What other big black man would be in?" I was like, "That's kind of a weird line to me."
It was borderline racist.
That's what I thought too, right?
And then she called him something else. She called him, but I think that was intentional because they are a little racist over there. Like that's how I took it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's true. There aren't a lot of black people in Moscow, so you do stick out like a sore thumb, you know. So I understand what y'all are saying, and I agree. But at the same time, in terms of demographic, you're completely out of place there. So there's the only reason you're there is if you're an athlete or a spy, right?
Racist.
That's what I said.
Do you have the button, baby? That's racist. We didn't do that button. We need that button. You gotta download that button. It is. And I was like, was this released on Juneteenth? Because we gotta have to talk about we're gonna have a talk.
I was so surprised that like that writing was in an MCU show. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, really? Okay.
Who you think you are, Barry Bonds? Like, damn. So, Martin Luther King Jr.
Right. But he actually uses this opportunity and he puts some spyware in her place, you know, on the owl, and he asks her for information regarding Gravik, and she won't give it up. But she also like plays him out like, yeah, no, this ain't the Fury that I knew. You're a little bit too old for this. Go back to the ship. Like she likes that kiss kept playing him. So Josh, how you feel about this whole the grab and the meeting with him and her? By the way, so
yeah, it was to me this was vintage Fury because of course he's a super spy. But also, people still know who he is because of the Avengers. Like he's essentially a celebrity in superhero terms on Earth in the 616 at this time. So for me, he knew he was going to get nabbed, as he alluded to in the meeting, and it was kind of like a dick measuring contest with her. So I thought that was interesting because usually that's what happens with spies who are long in the tooth. They still want to show that they have relevance in the industry. So I thought that was very accurate for an espionage type genre. So I appreciated it. I thought it was funny in certain aspects, but I also thought she was probably doing too much a little bit because it feels like she was overcompensating a little bit just to show that she could be on the same level as Nick Fury, which I see as a theme in this show as well that we'll get into later with Gravik. Everyone's trying to measure up their planning skills, their strategy skills with the great Nick Fury. It's like a measuring stick.
Yeah, and you know, also MI6 always try to like say they're better than like U.S. spies and stuff like that. So I get that point as well. That's like with what they do. But
what does that stand for? MI6?
I don't even. Josh, you know what it stands for?
I mean, it's just
Mission Impossible 6.
No. It's for the spies over in London.
Yeah, it's the British version of the CIA. I forget what it's called, but
yeah, I'm curious. I'll find out. But Chloe, how you felt about that scene though?
First of all, if she know what scrolls around, you don't even know if that's him or not. Like things are just not adding up. Like I don't know. Like, does she know about the scrolls?
Yeah, she knows. That's why he went
So
there.
you just nab up some random dude that you think is Nick Fury. You bring him into your headquarters to have a meeting in your private office.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I thought everybody around me was a scroll, I think I'd be a little bit more careful. Like, I don't think I would just have him, you know, perusing through my office here. like he probably, if I were to nab him, he'd have to be in handcuffs or something, so I know he can't touch nothing. Like,
That was weird. Why you nab him in the first place, but then like just let him walk around free in your office? I agree with that part.
because they were friends, and I think that was more or less like a, oh, haha, I caught you slipping. And he's like, nah, B, I caught you slipping because I knew you was gonna come out here. I'm 2 steps ahead of you, even though you think you're 2 steps ahead of me. And he said it. He actually said it to her.
Yeah, he did.
But like, it's just, I don't know. Like, it's just, I'm just curious to see what happens because it's getting real.
Yeah, it stands for Military Intelligence Section 6, by the way. So I just looked it up.
Section
Yeah, because
six,
their sectors 1 through 5.
Oh, so this is above. It's above me now. It's above that.
Right.
Okay. Highest one. Yeah. I'm at 6. So, yeah, I felt the same way. You know, I didn't like I didn't like her like the barrage of kind of like low key insults about his age and about what he can't do, stuff like that. But I feel like he knew obviously she wouldn't give him any intel, so he knew I'm gonna have to like spy on her. So he kind of set that up that way, like we talked about before, which is good. So moving forward, we kind of start getting into the graphic of it all and stuff like that, and we see this random guy at the time pull up to this gate, and they're like, whatever, so he was to get in, and then we see Talos' daughter, Gia, pull up.
Gaia.
Gaia pull up, and she says you got to show your face. So he changed to the scroll, changed back. So obviously like a scroll camp called Scrollos. They created for like scroll
new
peace.
Scrollos.
Yeah,
refugees.
Yeah, refugees. They're able to like farm. They're scroll food. They're able to have jobs over there. They just happen.
Day's free. Day's free.
Yeah, and at a former radiation zone that humans can't inhabit, but scrolls can because they're radiation resistant.
Right, exactly. So they're happy, but they're also there, grabbing humans and taking their forms, and then having the humans, it's not killing them. I don't want to kill them anyway, but whatever. And then keeping them in kind of a stasis, like you said before, Josh, and taking their memories. And we start to see like his plans unfold, and that she's kind of like a part of the team. I don't know if she's like, I don't think she's second in command because there's another guy over her, the other guy, whatever. But we see Gravik, we see some of the other players in the thing, and we see like her give the guy this tour of the place, and their whole thoughts are kind of having a place for them to kind of walk around in their own skin. So let me start with Clovis. How you felt about seeing that and what the scrolls are kind of doing over there?
It's like they try and build a Black Wall Street, but like a way, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like it's just themes that have. Okay, let me say this. This show to me is kind of too close to home. Okay. If that makes sense for like a Marvel movie, like a superhero movie. I don't really like the fact that they're using like real places like Moscow and wherever, because it's just like, this is fantasy. Like, this should be taking place in like Mumbai or like,
Yeah.
Whatever the fake multiverses are.
Yeah.
I don't like that it's taking place in like actual countries that exist in real life.
Okay.
That's my gripe with it, right? And then on top of that, it's like preemptively giving people like these ideas to do, not to do stuff like this, but like, it's just weird. It's just like all this violence and stuff, and it's not even like superhero violence. It's like violence on like real Americans and real Russians and real whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't really sit well with me comfortably. I get what they're trying to do, but it's kind of like what they tried to do in Falcon Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah, same type of deal. You're right.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be real. Like y'all can use some fake place.
Yeah.
So that was one thing I thought about it in internment camp. And then the other thing, I'm like, are humans attacking these people? Like, why do they have to be free in this space when humans already know aliens and stuff exist? You get what I'm saying? Like, I could see if they were being like persecuted and then they had to go into hiding in this like place, but they could just have space. They can have every radioactive space in the whole world and just be free. Like, where's the conflict? And maybe they'll go back like more into it as the season progresses.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seemed like they just want to take over the world because they were promised their own planet, and Nick Fury didn't deliver their planet, so now they're gonna kill his planet. Like, it just don't make sense when we could just coexist.
Okay. Josh, how you feel about the new Skrullos and seeing Gravik for the first time and starting to see how they're doing with humans and stuff, all that stuff?
I agree with Chloe. It did remind me of the Falcon and Winter Soldier and having the rebels. Mm-hmm. I saw a lot of parallels with that, so I guess it did remind me of that. But at the same time, I thought it was clever to use, and I understand what Chloe is saying because of course we have the Sokovia Accords, have some made up places, but at the same time, they're trying to really drive home the espionage element. Mm. So of course you're going to use Russia. You're going to drive home the alien point. So of course their species can be radiant resistant. Don't forget we have some species on Earth like cockroaches who are radiation resistant as well. They can survive nuclear holocaust and whatnot. So it makes sense that they would be hiding in plain sight in places where humans couldn't go. So I thought that was a well thought out balance of where they could live. Mm-hmm. And apparently even their fruits and crops and vegetables can grow in that environment as well. So I'm like, what y'all mad at? Don't forget, as far as we know to this point, literally everyone else in the universe is gunning for y'all, but the human beings allowed y'all to stay there. That's why I'm like, what are y'all mad at us for? We ain't do nothing to y'all.
Yeah, I think you can, like, I'm kind of with you guys both. Like, I think now that you know that you can survive in these areas that we cannot, and that you can also grow your fruits and crops and vegetables. Because it seemed like when the guy got in the car, like, you know, he was so like, oh my God, our own fruit, our own vegetable, whatever like that. But now that you know that, you can just like recruit people to say, okay, because between like from 1930s to now, there's a lot of nuclear waste sites that we can't.
Chernobyl.
Yeah. Some in the U.S. You know, and there's spots whatever like that is no longer available. Asia, it's all type of ones. Honest with you, that they can use. So. I feel like that would have been more of a solid idea or plan, I guess, in that way. And speaking of that, in the middle, I missed the part. We see our boy Rhodey, and
briefing the president.
Yeah, briefing the president. So he done, I guess, got a raise or promotion, I guess, or whatever like that over there. But again, the reason I brought him up because you know he's I guess he works on the president's staff now. But he also was an Avenger, and he knows about the scrolls and all that stuff, so he can like tell, you know, president or whoever, yo, let's give them this land because, you know, it'd be better for us and whatnot. Like he's like a connection from like the battlefield to like the political side. So I thought it would work, you know.
I don't think that president's a real person. I think that's a scroll.
I agree with you because we already know that Harrison Ford is going to be President Ross, so that president has to die somehow.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. So, but even to your point, Chloe, if maybe Rhodes or somebody could say, hey, I'm going to give the scrolls that space, the scroll president be like, you know, it's a good idea, maybe. You know what I mean? So that might
unless
work.
They want more space, unless they're like conquerors, like, we need all the space. We don't just want this little bit of land. We give it us everything. Like,
I don't know. You ain't got shit else. Y'all been in space doing nothing like this.
Because where are the other scrolls at? That's what I need to know. Like, are there more scrolls just up there?
Yes, there's more scrolls, yeah.
So they need a place for those scrolls to land.
Right. Basically.
And is it like 1 million scrolls? Or is it just like...
I have no idea how many, but...
1,000, like...
I would probably say at least 1 million, maybe. You know, which is not a large number for an entire planet, but, you know, I guess, you know, it'll work. And also, what am I going to say? That I agree with you with as well. I kind of lost my train of thought. Oh, the faces. It could be because they want to walk around their own skin and they're scared that people might not be able to accept that. You know, so I don't know if like walking around in human skin, like how much it can affect them in any way, or does just like they get tired of it, I guess. So that's something I could think about, you know, possibly. So which
is I agree with that. Which is to my point is like, was there? I think it would have made more sense to me if there was like discrimination against scrolls or something. Like if they would have started off the season with like these scrolls we gotta kill all the Skrulls, and it's like the humans against them, then I think I'd be more invested. Like, dang, this is a dilemma. But it's just like, oh, we have to hide ourselves, but they don't really say why. So maybe
Yeah,
they'll
okay.
get into that.
Okay. Well, after we do see that scene, we see the plan. You know, they want to go buy these explosives, these bombs from this guy. They send it was Gaia, right? Gaia to do it. But also Talos and Fury and Maria Hill have also sniffed out the plan too. So they're going to go try to intercept and get the guy. So now we see her go buy the explosives from the guy, and then Fury gets there, have this whole scene between Talos and the guy having a fight, but Talos not wanting to kill the guy, but kind of subduing him. And finally, when Fury has to kill him, Talos is kind of like, "I told you no, like I had this or whatever like that." Maybe like feeling for his own people. So, Josh, I'm sorry, how you feel about that whole part when they were trying to question the guy and Fury had to kill him?
I thought that was cool because we actually see that person, that human being in stasis for a brief second when we see the refugee camp, New Scrollos,
Mm-hmm.
and then we get to see him being the arms dealer when really he's a scroll, and it seemed to be he was a test for Gaia
Yeah,
for her to make sure, like, okay, because of course if you're a scroll, we got eyes everywhere, we're controlling everything. So if you are a double agent, we'll find out. So I thought that element was cool. But at the same time, I understand what Telos is doing. He's trying to play both sides of the fence per se, and trying to, because again, he was on the council until he was booted off.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I understand that you want to save your people, but he was about to kill you if Nick Fury ain't step in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, hey, if you wanted to save his life, then you're gonna have to beat him down because he was chipping him.
Yeah, he was.
So that's the only reason Fury had to. He gave you your space to do something, but you was getting chipped. You was looking like Fury, looking old.
Glow, how you felt about Talos and his, kind of thought process there after Fury had to kill the scroll?
I felt like it would have made. See, in my head, I was like, oh, he doesn't want him to kill him because that's somebody he knows. It might be his cousin or something. Like, that's what I thought initially. And that's why I was like, when Fury killed him, maybe it'll come out. Maybe he'll be like, yo, I told you not to kill him. That was my cousin.
Yeah.
And then that kind of made sense for the next scene when we find out that,
Yeah. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. And then, like, because they don't know you don't really know who the scroll is until they shift to their actual selves. So they can be anything. That'll be like, Josh shifting into something. I don't know it's Josh until he shifts back to himself.
Right.
Or he reveals himself.
Right.
So I don't know. Or maybe they know who each other are, even if they're in different skins. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah. But that would have been some good writing to say, yeah, that was my family too, or something like that. Yeah, to see that. Or even like that was my wife's cousin would have been even better, I think, something like that. So, before the one that passed away.
Because I thought they were fighting because they had some like previous beef. I thought that was I knew they were fighting because of that, but I thought it was like a double fight. Like, you see somebody and then you like, we got history. Let me fight him. Let me beat him down real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fury just shot him like, damn.
Yeah, but the guy did call Talos a traitor on his own people when during the fight too. So that was interesting as well. Like Josh, he was kicked off the council. So it seems like Talos just wanted peace, but they wanted war. And in the next scene, as Gaia is leaving, and she chips Maria Hill real quick, stuff like that, like light work. And then Talos catches up to her, and we find out that's his actual daughter, and that the mom has passed away. She didn't know, but she finds out the mom's passed away. But the way she's talking, it's like, yo, you never shoot, you never do anything, stuff like that. But I'm trying to actually do something, and I think he kind of feels that as well. And then they have to like let her go. So, Josh, how you felt about that second part of that, the scene with Talos and the daughter and Gaia?
I thought that was a cool scene between him and Gaia because last time we see Gaia, she was a little scroll and Captain Marvel. So I thought that was cool the way they did that. And for whatever reason, I still think she could be a double or a triple agent because we'll get into that later, that the next scene. But for whatever reason, I don't think Telos raised her that way to be a rebel and kill for these type of reasons, especially, and we'll get into it later. I just don't think their cause is justified enough, considering the alternative. Because imagine if human beings did not allow you, and again, it wasn't really human beings; it was more Nick Fury. It was
Yeah.
Nick Fury and Captain Marvel, like giving y'all a refugee location on Earth. So where would you be? Because you be, you would be hunted by Kree permanently.
Right.
So it's just like I just didn't understand the philosophy around their rebellion personally.
Yeah, you've been saying that. And it seemed like she left before her mother died too. So it's she didn't know as well. So I don't know. It seems like to me someone, because she was too young to be so upset about not having her own planet. Because that wouldn't I don't think it bothers. So someone got in her head. I don't know if it was Gravik or the other guy, but they should kind of maybe like at least allude to that or show that a little bit. I feel like who pulled her away from both her parents, and then at that point. But Chloe, how you felt about the daughter at that point and Talos in their scene stuff?
I think that I don't know. I'm just waiting to see. Like I was happy to see Daenerys.
Of course.
And that spoke to the fact that was his daughter. Spoke to my thought that that he knew the other scroll he was fighting.
Okay.
I was like, oh yeah, he probably killed somebody that he know. Or maybe I don't know. It was cool. I like seeing Daenerys.
Okay. All right. So
Amelia Clark.
So speaking of them, let me just follow up too. So then, I guess she reaches out too as well after she goes back to the base, and she reaches out and to Talos again and says, I kind of saw this coming a mile away too, by the way, but she says, I'll let you know. What I can do is let you know about the bags and where the bomb's going to be at and stuff like that. We're meeting in this location at this time. He tells Fury, Maria Hill. So now we get to the end of it all. So they meet there. This scene is like, to me, like well done, well shot, and well choreographed as well. So it's a lot happening, but they split up all three ways to follow three bags, and then the X's on the bags, and then they figure they got them. But as they walk through this huge crowd, the bags disappearing, coming back, and nobody knows what they're looking at. Eventually, they think they got him. So, and then Fury follows what's a child that keeps changing in the different scrolls, basically, which is Gravik. Spoiler alert.
Did you notice that the people he changed into are the same people that Nick Fury had on his initial stroll?
I did. I noticed about one of them, but no, not the other one. So
all of them. The last one was the girl that was kissing the man.
Yeah.
Like every single one that he was looking at.
The guy in the bar. Yep.
Yeah. So that was Gravik following him the whole time.
Which is crazy, by the way. So, but it's also crazy to see like they can shift to so many different people, like Mystique, kind of, of it all or whatever. So, and then Gravik had the bomb the whole time. So he was like basically like putting them off his scent. So Amelia Clark, Gaia, actually played her dad. You know what I mean? Like he knew they would come, but they're gonna follow these bags. They're the wrong bags. And the end of it all, Gravik still does blow up what they blow up. Like his plan succeeded, and then Maria Hill winds up getting shot and killed. So
that part was the twist.
Yeah,
they got me.
Maria Hill. Yeah, go ahead. Talk about it, Chloe. How you feel about the whole scene?
Because it was the way that they shot it. You thought that Nick Fury, because we were following Nick. We're following him and Gravik, and you're so enthralled and like, wait, what is he gonna catch this guy?
Yeah.
And then you see the explosion, and then you go back to Nick Fury. Oh no, you go to what's the girl, Maria?
Yeah.
Maria's like, Nick, and he turns around, and then he shot her.
Yeah.
But I thought initially, like, I'm like, wait, he could tell she's a scroll. And then he shoots her, and she's like, you shot me. And then he's like, changes back to actual Gravik, and then Nick Fury comes out of nowhere, like, no, it wasn't me. And she's like, you shot me. So, can I just give one caveat?
Go ahead.
First time we watched this, I fell asleep. Literally, like as soon as Daenerys met with the father, I fell asleep.
Okay.
So last night I had to rewatch it from that part.
Okay.
Because before, like, my first impression of it was like this junk boring. Like it's too much talking, not enough stuff's happening. And I even told my mom, and she said she fell asleep twice trying to watch it.
Wow.
2 times. She's like, yeah, I just kept rewinding, and every time I just So yesterday I finally watched it from that scene. So I say that to say that the last scene makes the show.
Okay.
Like my second opinion of it after seeing that Nick Fury scene, I was like, oh, it's about to go down. But before then, I was like, man, it's just too much talking. It's too much. I feel like I'm in history class. Like, I feel like I'm watching CNN or something. Like, I'm bored. This is boring. That's how I felt until I watched it last night.
First of all, Josh, I imagine you wake her up and you let her sleep through the second half of the show.
I was too enthralled. I was too enthralled.
He didn't know. I probably fell asleep for like 10 minutes and woke up and minutes ago. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll watch it tomorrow.
Secondly, I agree. The whole last, not just the shooting part, but that whole last part, the chase and all that stuff was like really, really thrilling and like I said, well shot. But Josh, how do you feel about it? Let me get your thoughts on it. So.
Oh yeah, and before that, I thought there was a great spy scene where both Telos and Gaia were different alter egos in a cab, so they can go have that conversation. So I thought that was cool too. So I thought that was very clever how they can be clandestine like that. But that also made me think that's classic double agent, because you're gonna tell them two truths and a lie, right? Okay. So she has to maintain her cover. So I knew the bombs were gonna go off anyway.
Right.
So I thought that was very clever. She was like, "Oh, I'll even mark it for you, with the whatever that the ink was, that disappearing ink, whatever it's called, and then you can track it that way." So she can still play ball with Fury and everybody and Telos, but at the same time, she can still save face and make sure the plan is executed. Because at the end of the day, Gravik knows who she is. He knows who Telos is. He knows who Fury is, and he knows if the plan is botched, he knows exactly who to go after. Right. So I thought that was great for, in true espionage and being a double agent, you have to allow the plan to be executed so you can catch them at a later date. And at the end of the day, it wasn't like it was America, it was Moscow. So,
And I didn't
what up, man? Games in the building.
Yeah, what's good, man?
What's up? I didn't expect them to show like actual people getting blown up. Did y'all peep that?
People got shot and blown up in this show, so I was like a little surprised. It was
legs flying through the fire, like whew. I'm like, dang, it's a little graphic
for Disney Plus, right? Yeah. I agree though. It was a good scene, and the way it was executed by Gia was great as well. And I also thought that the Maria Hill of it all, is like to Chloe's point. I felt like that they never gave her enough to do in the MCU for the last 12 years she's been in the MCU. And Chloe didn't remember who else she was. So I felt like they never gave her enough to do. And I know you don't follow the comics or even some of the cartoons, but she has so much more to do, you know what I mean, in those things. And then she even takes over for Fury, where Fury goes away, like really takes over though. So you don't really see it here. So I think that it was her time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was her time. I don't remember. I'm like, hello, goodbye. Meanwhile, they knew too. They like, she ain't doing much. Let's get rid of her so we can move this story along.
I'm sure, but she probably would have superhero fatigue as well, because again, over a decade to the same role. I mean, we see even people like Chris Hemsworth being tired with Thor. And so I get it. Like, if you're an actor, you don't get into it to play the same role. Like, before she was typecast because she was Robin Scherbatsky and How I Met Your Mother. Now she's probably typecast as Maria Hill. She probably wants to go do something else. So I don't blame her. Great servant to the MCU, but time to move on.
What's funny is that when I watched this episode, it looked like she was tired of playing the role to me a little bit. Like, she looked like, to me, if you watch her in this compared to like back in like the early MCU stuff, it looked like, okay. Kind of like Jennifer Lawrence in the last X-Men movie. Like I'm just done. Whatever. So
or what's the name in Gamora in the last movie.
That too. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, like no with the shit. Gamora like I'm about to go through these Avatar movies. I'm done with this stuff or whatever.
Like cut. Oh, okay. Let's go. All right, next scene. Roll next scene.
He said, "Good to see you. Absolutely. Let's talk about this week. Okay, good." About him coming on. Oh, I said coming on, and then he said, "Also, Maria did her
time to skate." I know that's right.
Yeah. Also, prior contract was up. Like, we ain't bringing her back. That's enough. Like that. So, but I think it was a good thing. Now, as Dave said in the other chat, now it's something to avenge for Nick Fury because he was close to Maria Hill. So it kind of maybe puts a kick in his butt, I guess, to kind of like, okay, we got to really do this shit because I done lost somebody real close to me again. And for Nick, he done lost Coulson, quote unquote, like Josh said, and Romanoff as well, and they were all
And
close to
Tony
each other.
Stark.
And Tony Stark, yeah. So the mental health aspect in the show they're showing could have given him having these flashbacks is real too. The blip, and I guess like what Josh said, he felt like I can always figure out how to save the day, and when that blip happened, I can see I could kind of messed him up as well.
So speaking of that flashback, that tells me that he's a Skrull. That's his friend. He might have died. I think that
Well, Chloe says to answer your question. I'm sorry, Chloe. Who y'all think going to be a Skrull among OG characters? Chloe says Nick Fury. So
yeah, Nick Fury is Skrull. I think he is Skrull because that would explain why he didn't get invited to Wakanda.
He's still talking about that too. Sam Jackson.
Yeah, Sam Jackson talking about that, and honestly, I think the flashback that they showed is not a flashback. It's like when they take people memories. Maybe that's him thinking about Nick Fury when Nick Fury actually died. Maybe he didn't come back from the blip. Like how you look at memories of people who passed. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's not a flashback of himself. That's a flashback of the Skrull remembering Nick Fury.
I got you. Yeah, it makes sense. Josh, want to answer that question? Who you think might be a Skrull?
For the OG characters, it could be Rhodey too. Rhodey could be a Skrull as well. You never know.
Rhodey could be a Skrull. Yeah.
So that would be interesting. I think we talked about what's her name? Not Madam Hydra, but Ross's wife. Val for the leader of the Thunderbolts. She could be, she could be a Skrull.
Do you think any Avengers or any heroes might be Skrulls at all?
Maybe a girl, Scarlett Johansson, because she could jump out of buildings and stuff.
She already did.
I know. Did we see her die though? We didn't see her actual death. She just fell off a cliff, right?
No, she's not. Oh. She's definitely not a Skrull.
Yeah.
She's definitely dead. In terms of to MJ's question, in terms of the OG characters, besides possibly Rhodey, I don't think so.
All right, Maine says, I really think that this episode did a great job of showing sacrifices that Nick made and the cost to them as well. In addition to Skrull invasion, Fury's absence had consequences.
That's facts.
I like that, man. Yeah, he was on Saber the whole time and not actually being on this surface, so I can agree with that. I don't know. I'm with you guys. I'm lost who could be a possible Skrull. Val definitely could be one. Rhodey's interesting because he's in there with the president as well. And I think we get more of Rhodey in episode 2 from what I hear. And it's like great back and forth.
Wait a second. Wouldn't that explain how he turned from Terrence Howard to
That's hilarious.
Wow.
I mean, she kind of right.
Well, would explain it. You know what I mean? They could tie up that loose end.
That was early MCU. We just changed it. Nobody gonna notice or whatever like that. So it's funny because he even says it in Iron Man 2. Like Tony says to Rhodey, like you look a little different these days, something like that. So it's like
he might be a Skrull. He might be a Skrull.
Yeah.
Do you think it's anybody like actual Avengers? Like
that's what I said. Like I don't know. Like that would be, and I know in the comics and in the cartoon it is. Like actual like Captain America and like maybe Anthony Mackie's a Skrull. I'll be happy with that because I hate fucking Anthony Mackie. So
yeah, but okay, this is another thing, right? Just because a Skrull can imitate someone doesn't mean that person is necessarily gone.
Right. Apparently, they
so like. Even if someone says, "Oh, Thor is a Skrull," it might not be the real Thor. It's just a copycat.
Nah, because he still couldn't wield
No.
Mjolnir.
That was just not saying Thor. I know Thor is not because he's the actual god. But like anybody, it doesn't mean that they were a Skrull the whole time. It just means a Skrull saw them and just copied them and was a Skrull at certain points.
That's the point, though, to know when they started being a Skrull. How much did they do or know that we don't know? How far could this go back?
Oh, that's the point. See, I was looking at it differently. I
Yeah.
was looking at it like, who's the imposter? This reminds me of that game Among Us.
Oh, okay.
You know, where you find the imposter.
And I'm just
Yeah.
surprised that we don't have any scroll detecting technology, even if it's off world. Surely the Kree had to develop something to detect them, something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's fair.
Yeah, fair too. Yeah, I agree. It'd be interesting once they do, to me, put in mutants and stuff like that, because there's a few shape shifting mutants, even besides Mystique.
Mystique.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see like that part, like with the scrolls and whatnot. So either way, I agree with May. I want to say that it was a good first episode to me. I wouldn't say it was a great episode, but it did get me locked in and want to watch the next one. So it did its job. So let's wrap it up because no baby showers are waiting. So Josh, how would you rate this thing, Will?
I would rate this a solid 8. It didn't knock it out the park, but it definitely, as you said, Big Mike, it definitely got me anticipated for not just the next episode, but the entire season. So I'm curious
Mm-hmm.
to see how they do it. But I will say my major gripe is the philosophy of Gravik. So at the end of the day, y'all are, persona non grata in the universe. Both the Kree and other cultures are trying, other alien races are trying to exterminate you, which is why Skrullos was destroyed. Your planet was destroyed because y'all are infiltrating different planets and trying to take over. And then y'all got a lifeline on Earth, right? And it did remind me of Gravik, reminded me of Wakabi, Black Panther, who was played by
Oh yeah.
Kaluuya.
Mm-hmm.
When Killmonger finally killed Claw, he's like, "Forget the Wakandans, I'm gonna ride with Killmonger." I was like, "Bro, come on, man! You don't have any patience about Claw." Number one, number two, and scrolls can live what 250 years, so
Mm-hmm.
that's like 4 times the average human life.
Yeah.
So 30, they were on the planet for 30 years. 30 years is like 7 years for y'all.
Yeah.
That's nothing. So again, and you act like you don't know anything about Earth. Earth does not have the technology at this point to go off world into deep space. Not like
Right.
that.
Right.
That's the Guardian's job, and Thor can do that with with Mjolnir and whatnot,
Stormbreaker.
and the Stormbreaker. Thank
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
and things like that. So for me, that part, I'm like, why y'all upset? Like, how you biting the hand that feeds you when you trying to take over Earth? That to me, it just never made any sense.
Yeah. Yo, Wakabi was so mad that T'Challa didn't bring back Claw. I remember that shit. He walked away like fuck. He came back, but anyway. I was gonna say, yeah. Wait, let me read Rain's main comment before I get to Chloe and her rating. He says, "Wait, Chloe, Rhodey might be a scroll. He should be using those leg braces, if I'm not mistaken, and we should be able to see them through his clothes. So I guess when we see him
That's a
more,
great point, and we
yeah,
only see him from the waist up to Main's point. So I think that's very clever.
yeah. So we'll be able to see more. Chloe, how would you rate the episode 1 to 10?
Strong 7.
Okay, all right, okay.
Like, I fell asleep. I fell asleep the first time, but then it redeemed itself. It went from like a 6 to a 7.
Mm,
I'm waiting. I'm waiting to rate the whole series. I think
me
this is
too.
one of those shows where you have to rate the whole series, not just like an episode.
I'll read the episode, but also read the whole series. I agree with that.
Hmm.
So, certain things get better if they stick the landing, so to speak. But I'm gonna go
Hmm.
with I'm with you. I'm on a 7. I wasn't overly impressed, but it was solid. Like I said before, the ending definitely but it did keep me intrigued though, because I'm like Josh. I do like spy thrillers and stuff that kind of builds up. The thing about when you watch those things is that they do have to build up,
Hmm.
over time because so many moving parts, um, as well. So, but I'm going with a strong 7 though.
Yo, y'all know what I was thinking? I'm starting to think that Secret Wars is going to have a lot to do with the scrolls as well, because I feel like the only person who knows who's a scroll and who isn't with complete certainty would be Kang, because his ultimate access to the timeline. So
Right.
he knows everything is going to happen before it even happens. So he's going to know who's going to be a scroll, who isn't. So I think we'll see a lot of scrolls in Secret Wars,
I can
personally.
see that. I can see that. All right, well, guys, Maine, MJ, thank you guys for coming on and watching. Chloe, Josh, thanks for being here. As I said, Maine, if you're still watching, you're invited for next week, of course. We'll talk about it through the week, try to get you on here, maybe next weekend sometime. Not gonna be Sunday. Well, it could be. We'll figure it out. But anyway, thank you guys once again, and we'll see you for the next show next week. For that, we out.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, let's end.